I was 25 when my world fell apart, not in the way people say it, not with melodrama or exaggeration. No, I mean it in the most literal way. The truth came in a plain white envelope with ancestry results stamped on the front. My father, John Morgan, was always obsessed with history. Old war documentaries, faded family albums, and long-winded tales about our Irish roots that nobody really asked for, but everyone sat through with half smiles. So, when he decided to take a DNA test, we thought it was harmless. Cute, even. He ordered 3 kits, one for him, one for me, and one for my younger sister, Emily. He said it was to compare notes and trace our bloodline together. He smiled when he said it. "I want to see how much of me is in you kids," he joked. Looking back, that line feels like a knife. When the results came in, my father didn't open them right away. He waited until we were all home one Sunday afternoon. He was excited, beaming, the way a child looks when unwrapping a long-awaited gift. We were in the living room. Mom was in the kitchen. My sister and I were on the couch. Dad stood by the window, tearing open the envelope. He laughed, a little confused. "That's strange," he said, tilting the paper. "What is?" Emily asked, leaning forward. He frowned. "It says Emily and I share 49.6% DNA. Full match as parent and child." We nodded. Normal. Then his eyes scanned the next section. He blinked. "But it says Daniel and I share only 0.2%. Silence. I laughed. "What? That's impossible." He didn't laugh. Mom walked in, wiping her hands on a towel. "What's going on?" Dad held up the results. "The test says Daniel isn't biologically mine." The room fell into a vacuum, like someone had sucked all the air out of it. I stared at him. Emily stared at me. Mom froze in place. "Must be a mistake," I said quickly, standing up. "Maybe you mixed up the samples." But Dad was already shaking his head. "I triple-checked. I registered each kit myself, sealed them. Watched you spit into the tube, Daniel. Remember?" My mouth went dry. "But there's more," he cut in. He turned the page. "It also says Daniel and Emily are only half-siblings, which means you're not both from the same 2 parents." Mom dropped the towel. The world cracked open. The next few hours were chaos. Dad was pacing, muttering things like, "I knew it," and "so many things make sense now." Emily was crying. I sat on the edge of the couch, numb, and Mom, she didn't say a word, not a single word, until Dad turned to her, voice hoarse and trembling. "Was there someone else?" She opened her mouth up, then closed it. Her eyes were wide, red, broken. He screamed, "Was there someone else, Lydia?" And then she whispered the words that would destroy everything. "Yes." It had been one night. A mistake, a drunken encounter with an old boyfriend before she and Dad were officially engaged. She found out she was pregnant weeks later, and she just chose not to say anything. She convinced herself it didn't matter, that love and marriage and raising a family were stronger than DNA. She kept the lie buried for 25 years, until the test unearthed it. And I was the living proof of that betrayal. Dad didn't speak to her for weeks. He moved into the guest room. Then one morning he was gone. Took a suitcase, left a note. "I can't look at you," without seeing his face. He didn't mean her. He meant me. I tried calling him. I texted, left voicemails. No answer. Emily became quiet, distant. I could feel her walking on eggshells around me, like she didn't know if I was still her brother. Was I? I started looking in the mirror differently. I had his nose, or so I thought. But now every feature became a question mark. Whose eyes were these? Whose blood ran in my veins? Mom tried to comfort me, but I pulled away. "I don't know who I am," I said. She cried, but I had no more sympathy to give. Days turned into weeks, then months. Dad refused to come home. Eventually, I tracked him down at a motel, room 207. I knocked. My heart pounded. He opened the door, looked at me, and I'll never forget what I saw. He was thinner, hollow. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands shaking. He didn't invite me in, just stood there. "I'm not him," I said. He blinked. "I'm not the man who slept with Mom. I'm not your enemy. I'm still your son. I may not be your blood, but you raised me. You taught me to ride a bike, to change a tire, to shave. You were there when I had my first heartbreak. You were my hero." He looked away, jaw clenched. I stepped closer. "I still need you." A tear rolled down his cheek, and then he pulled me into a hug. It wasn't perfect after that. There were still moments of distance, lingering pain, questions without answers. Eventually we met the man who was my biological father. He'd never known I existed. He seemed decent, kind, shocked, but he wasn't my dad. Not really. My real father was the man who taught me to throw a baseball and who came to every school play, who read me bedtime stories. John Morgan, the man who stood by me even after the truth came out. Years later, he gave me a letter. I still have it. It said, "Blood doesn't make a father, love does. I may not have made you, but I chose you every day, even when it hurt." And I believe him, because being a father isn't about DNA, it's about staying when the easy thing is to leave.